Welcome to How to Cook That. I'm Reardon and this is an episode of Debunking where we test hacks from the internet to check if they are real or fake. This first one was sent in by quite a few people, so let's watch it.
Have you ever made your favorite food a little too salty? Not anymore. Sharing my grandma's hack to fix oversalted
That's a lot
food.
of salt.
Cut a piece of raw potato, add to your pot and simmer. The potato absorbs the oversalted liquid, taking away the excess salt. Take out the potato and enjoy your meal.
Let's test it out. I'm going to use 500 ml of water and 1 teaspoon of salt, which is a lot less than they had in their video, and heat that up just until the salt is dissolved, which won't take long, and pour that into glasses A and B. Now for C, I'm going to do the exact same thing. 500 ml of water, 1 teaspoon of salt, stir over the heat until the salt is dissolved, and then add a slice of potato and let it simmer for 15 minutes, which is what they said to do. Now by leaving it to simmer, we have lost 100 ml of water, which will concentrate the salt. So to even that out and give this hack the best chance of working, I'm going to add more fresh water to bring it back up to 500 ml. Then we can pour that into glass C and leave them to cool. I just need you to figure out which one, if any, is more salty than the others, or are they all the same?
Okay, all right, I'll give it a go. A. Whoa, that's the Pacific Ocean right there. Whoa, that's like drinking the water out of a tin of tuna. Whoa, Dead Sea. I reckon C is nice and salty. It's right up there. The other two, I don't know. I think my taste buds are dead.
So you think C is the worst?
I think so. It may have just been a cumulative effect. But C definitely had a good punch to it. All right, for the science, I'm going backwards. Whoa. Wow. No, I feel as though A is not quite as salty as C, and B's just in the middle, just enjoying the party.
I think it's safe to say that that hack is debunked. Now, if we take the same amount of salt and water and we add to that some vinegar and a little bit of brown sugar, let's see how that goes.
What am I drinking? Oh, please don't meme this. Go D. Sort of got a bit of an orangey tang to it. Is it bad Gatorade? I don't know.
Is it as salty as C, B and A or any of those, or is it less salty, more salty?
No, it's less salty, or it tastes less salty. I suspect that there's a trick to this.
Adding sugar and some sort of acid, so either some vinegar, some lime juice or some lemon juice, can help to disguise the saltiness, but there is a limit. There's a point over which there's no return if you've added too much salt. And that much salt is not good anyway, so obviously if possible try not to add too much salt in the first place. Next, Kazza sent in this clip saying, I found an odd video and could you explain the science behind it? Let's take a look. Coke in a paper straw. And it's fizzing lots. This is caused by a physical reaction, not a chemical one. It's just like the old Coke and Mentos experiment. All of your carbonated drinks have carbon dioxide in them that's been added under pressure. And once you open it, those bubbles want to come out, and usually they come out very slowly. But if you add something to it that's rough, it gives lots of little nucleation points, or little points where the gas can form into a bubble, and it can come out much more quickly than it would if you didn't put that in. Now, I know that straws don't look rough and Mentos don't look rough, but if you look at a Mentos under a scanning electron microscope, it looks like this. It's really quite rough. And thanks to the research done by Tonya Coffey on Coke and Mentos, I can tell you it's not just the roughness of the Mentos that matters, but it's how quickly it falls to the bottom of the container. That's why Mentos is more effective at this than something like a Lifesaver or a Fruit Tingle, because they fall much more slowly. They also found out that Fruit Mentos will give a bigger reaction than Mint Mentos will, and Coke Zero will have a bigger reaction than Coke Classic because the aspartame makes it easier for the bubbles to form, and if you have Coke that is warm rather than cold, it will give a bigger reaction. So let's test those theories out.
3, 2, 1.
So how can we apply that research to straws? Well, if I take a warm Coke Zero and I put the straw in as fast as I can all the way to the bottom, it fizzes everywhere, which is obviously not what we want. But if I take a chilled Coke Zero and I put the straw in very slowly and not all the way to the bottom, we get hardly any reaction at all. But you may still find when you drink through that straw, you get that really aerated, lots of bubbles in your mouth compared to if you were drinking through a plastic straw. Now, this is something that straw manufacturers are acutely aware of, the effervescence problem and also the soggy straw problem, and they are doing research trying to combat both those issues. Now, this next video, or rather a link, was sent to me by Helen, and it's quite a sad and disturbing one. She sent me a link to Dan the Turtle Man, and he loves turtles. He has some really, really cute ones in his collection. Now, he noticed some fake turtle rescue videos popping up on YouTube. They film finding turtles in the ocean with barnacles stuck to their shells, and then they scrape them all off and rescue them. But I'll let Dan explain the problem to you.
They're taking freshwater species of turtles, gluing barnacles to their shells, and then scraping them off and pretending to find them and calling them sea turtles. Look, you could see the super glue coming off. You could see the super glue on the side of the turtle. You could see that. That's not even super glue, that's hot glue. So you put burning hot glue, which is basically melted plastic, to the shell of the turtle. Turtles have nerves in their shells the same way that you can feel stuff on your fingernails, and it's extremely uncomfortable, especially for the soft shells or the fly river turtles that have soft shells.
Fake animal rescue videos are unfortunately not a new thing on YouTube, and there have been lots of YouTubers who have covered this topic extensively already.
These things go viral due to the nature of shorts and TikToks. This is a video of dogs stuck in rubber. This is a real rescue video that went viral. The week after this video was uploaded, you now got puppies stuck in rubber. Wow, really? What are the odds? Tons of videos of dogs now being stuck in rubber.
The difficulty with this is that although people are reporting these channels and getting them taken down, new ones seem to pop up with the same videos just re-uploading, and they're doing well because they are very clickbaity. People want to click on it and see the animal rescued, and they don't know that the animal was put in danger in order to pretend to rescue it on video. And often those animals are getting hurt in the process. So it's a bit of a tricky one because there are genuine animal rescue organisations who have videos, and they need views. They need people to watch them and make donations. I wanted to say don't click on any animal rescue videos, but I feel like that would harm the genuine ones as well. Let me know if you know a good solution to that. This next video was sent in by Lisa Marie. Cool. You could recreate this quite easily at home. All you'll need is 4 spoons, 4 batteries, and a small coin. And voila, the coin floats in the air. But you will need one more thing in there, which is this very fine string that's used for magic tricks. It's so fine that it just kind of disappears on my white background. You cannot make the coin levitate off the bench using this setup. The batteries aren't even making a circuit. You've got one end of the battery not touching anything, and even if they were making a circuit, this wouldn't work. You can make things levitate though using electromagnetic levitation. You've probably seen floating display stands like this sort of one that used that before. Or you can make things float using electrostatic levitation. Head on over to Plasma Channel for more information on that one, but you're going to need some higher voltage for that to work. Moving on, Moni Muller wants to know, will this work? Let's take a look. Chocolate in water. Chilling it. actually work, but not in the proportions that they show. If we have a look, they had a container that was wide enough to just fit the chocolate in there nicely, and the water came up to the second square of chocolate. So if we fill this up to just below that level to be fair, and then let's do this.
It's not very moussey. Wow. It's very watery. It tastes a little bit like a hot chocolate that's been in the fridge. And the flavor's okay, but it is definitely not a mousse.
If you want to make the 2-ingredient mousse, then you're going to have to use a lot less water and a lot more chocolate. Melt that in the microwave and you can see how much thicker this is already. Now give it a whisk over the ice or just chill it in the fridge and then whisk it. Now this is never going to be as creamy or airy as a normal chocolate mousse, but if you want to make it, I'll put all the proportions on the website for you. It's different for white, milk and dark chocolate.
Now this one looks more like a chocolate mousse. All right. Good moussey texture. Flavor's nice. Flavor's not that different from the other one. It's just that this one is a mousse and the other one is a drink.
This next video was sent in by Tintin.
Friends, let me show you the coolest magic trick you can do with milk.
This is Chirnside Park. Prep your ginger first, heat up your milk and sugar until bubbles just start to form below the surface, then take it off the heat. Now you have 5 minutes to grate your ginger and extract its juice. By now, your milk should be at the perfect temperature for the magic to happen. Pour it into the ginger juice, cover it, and wait for 10 minutes. Look at that. Tell me that isn't magic.
Now I know that this one looks like it was faked because she covered it over with a tray and then took the tray away and it was magically set. But this one can actually work, it's legitimate. So there is an enzyme in the ginger that breaks down the protein in the milk, causing it to clump together and form like that soft pudding type texture. Now, although it can work, it's not that simple. So if you've tried it and it didn't work, so you think therefore it was fake, there's a couple of things you need to keep in mind. One is you need to check the temperature of your milk, because if your milk is over 70 degrees Celsius, you are going to ruin the enzyme. So then the enzyme can't work on the milk because you've basically destroyed it. The other thing is that old ginger works better than fresh ginger. It has more of the enzyme in it the older it is. So when I used fresh ginger from the shops, it didn't work. When I used this old ginger that has literally been sitting in the drawer of my fridge for 3 weeks, it worked perfectly. Within 10 minutes, it was set into this beautiful looking soft pudding.
Warm ginger milk pudding. I do love ginger. Not sure about the others. I like it.
Next, lots and lots of you sent me messages about the explosion of these videos on TikTok and Shorts.
Now let's put it in the microwave. I'm scared.
Now, I'm in two minds about this sort of video. If you read the comments under them, a lot of them are asking what happened? Why did the egg explode? So in some ways it's raising awareness about microwaving eggs and that they can explode if you do so. The other thing is most of these people knew that it was going to explode. They did it deliberately. That's why they're doing it. They want to get a video, they want to get views. So they are leaning right back away from it to give themselves some protection. The issue is they're not wearing any safety gear. So at minimum, I'd like to see them wearing glasses, because if a piece of hot egg flies into your eye, you could do quite a bit of damage there. The other issue I have is if kids copy this at home. Kids obviously have a shorter arm length than adults do, and they haven't told them not to do it at home or to take any safety precautions, so that could result in them being injured. The other issue I have is the direction that this trend seems to be going, which is then in pranking other people with an egg that has been heated in the microwave. Now obviously then these people are not expecting it to explode, they are not leaning back away from it, and they are the ones who are likely to get very hurt, and that is not okay. Now next, a lot of people asked, could I revisit a hack that was in the last debunking video? If you missed it, it was about frosting, and the hack said that if you take your freshly made frosting and you blitz it with an emulsion blender, you will end up with a darker colour without adding any more colouring to your frosting. Now, as I said in the last debunking video, that will work, but you've knocked all the air out of the frosting. So you've now got a denser, darker frosting. It's about the consistency of unwhipped butter. So that's something that was not mentioned at all in the original video, which was the point of mentioning it. As any baker or chef will tell you, the texture is just as important as the colour and the flavour of your frosting. Now, there's been a new video since then, and that new video claims that you can just re-whip the frosting. Just whip it back up, whip the air back into it, and it will be light and fluffy, but it will keep the dark colour that you got from when you blended it. So let's test that out. If I make some Swiss meringue buttercream, it's a very light and airy frosting. It's made by pouring hot sugar syrup into an egg white foam and then whipping that until it's cool. Now I'm going to add 2 mils of colour. The amount you add shouldn't matter for this experiment. You should still be able to see the colours change. Then add in the room temperature butter, 1 cube at a time, and keep whipping that until it's incorporated. Now at this point, if I measure the volume of the frosting, we've got around 700 millilitres. Now the amount you have here to start with will be dependent on how much air you whipped into your frosting in the first place. Now let's put some of that here so we can see the starting colour. Now if I blend that up, you can see the colour changes to a darker colour, and if we check the volume, you can also see that we now have substantially less because, like we talked about, we've knocked the air out of it. Now you can see it's darker than the original here, which we already talked about. So the new question is, can we re-whip this and retain the darker colour? Now I've put all that frosting back in here, and let's whip that up. Now if I stop that there, you can see it still looks darker, but you need to measure the volume to check you've got all the air back into it, and I can tell just by looking at it, this is still not back up to the volume it was originally. So let's turn it on to full speed and whip it for another 3 minutes. Even after all that re-whipping, I still can't get it back to the original volume. If we measure it, we've got about 600 mils, and even accounting for any loss on bowls and swapping them over, when you look at the weight, we haven't lost that much, so it shouldn't be that much lower. So something like an American buttercream, you should be able to re-whip because it was just whipped butter. But this one, if you've made it really light and airy and foamy to start with, it's very hard to get it that light and airy and foamy again. But even so, let's check the colour and see where we're at. And as you can see, now that it's been re-whipped, it is lighter in colour again because we've added the air back into it. So as I said in the original video, if you want a frosting that is light and fluffy in texture and darker in colour, you're going to have to add more food colouring. Now, I'm aware that that is different to what the person is saying in the other video, and I am not into YouTube drama and people accusing different people of different things. That is not what I'm going to get involved in. Not at all. So I reached out directly to Adriana and gave her time to respond, and I asked her if she could rerun that experiment and check her volume afterwards to make sure all the air was back into it. Now she has responded and said that she could re-whip it and get all the air back into it. She put it over an iced bath to get it to do that, and she also says that once it's re-whipped, it's still darker in colour. Now, this doesn't make sense to me because science is supposed to be repeatable. That's part of the scientific method. You should be able to do the same experiment at home and get the same results as I get. Now, if we don't get the same results when we're using the same recipe, the same colouring, and all of that sort of stuff, then there must be a technique difference. Looking at her videos and her photos versus mine, the main differences I can see is I'm using a stand mixer, she's using a hand mixer, I'm using a full batch of frosting, and she's using smaller quantities of frosting. I still don't see why there would be that much difference. So what I'm going to ask is that you guys test it for yourself. If you want to know if it is a good hack to use or not, run the experiment. It's just frosting, it's not going to cost much, and we could really do with some more data points here. Let us know what your original volume was and whether you managed to get the volume back up to what it was originally. Also, importantly, let us know what happened to the colour. Did it stay dark or did it go light again? And if you run the experiment, put your results below and your methods below, and put #experiment at the start of your comments so it makes it easy for people who are trying to filter through and find those comments. With thanks to my wonderful patrons for all of your support, and a special shout out to MB. Thank you for your kind words in the last few weeks. They have meant more than you know. Make it a great week by being kind to others, and I'll see you on Friday.